Excuse me, I farted. What's up, you guys? Chet Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with day 192 of my vlogging experience here in the state of Florida. That is 8 days away from doing this for 200 days straight. If you think about it, that's only 165 days away from doing it for an entire year. There have been my good days and my bad days, but still, for me, that's impressive. Not many people can say that they've done that. But you guys, for today's vlog, for the celebration of the Halloween/fall season, I am going to go over my top 5, yes, that is my top 5 paranormal documentaries, or at least the ones that I have seen. Now granted, yours could be way different, but for me, I've just found these to be very interesting. Maybe I should just do maybe one completely based off YouTubers who have done it, or maybe just straight up that you have seen on television, but that is for a different day. But you guys, this is my top 5 paranormal documentaries, and sitting at number 5 right now is Dan Bell's The Eileen Wuornos Case. Now, this one was filmed back in 2017 by well-known YouTuber Dan Bell. Now, Dan Bell has been doing this for years, but he was down here in Florida in, I believe, Orlando or near Orlando, and that's when his car broke down, and he did a video on the murder case of Eileen Wuornos. If you all know anything about murder cases, this one takes the cake. You're probably wondering, well, Chet, why are you talking about a murder documentary when you're supposed to talk about paranormal? Well, what Dan Bell has done is he's taken an interesting spin on it. Like they did a paranormal session at the motel where Eileen Wuornos and her girlfriend stayed before she got arrested. And throughout this documentary, Dan Bell goes and visits these various spots where she committed these murders, and also to this bar that she stayed at right before she got arrested. It's a beautiful documentary, and it's something that I highly suggest you watch. But you guys, for my number 4 top 5 paranormal documentary is the old South Pittsburgh documentary that Paranormal Witness True Terror did on the building. Now you're probably wondering, well, that's a television show. But here's the thing with Paranormal Witness. Paranormal Witness is documentary based, so I feel therefore I can put it on my list. But it goes through this documentary of the old South Pittsburgh Hospital is not a conglomerate, but it begins on the last days when the hospital was still operational till the very end, to basically doing ghost hunts in it. And this documentary had a lot of interesting things about it. This is one of the few places that I've ever seen that the ghosts or spirits will physically harm you to a degree that it could potentially kill you. Yes, I mean, there's one example. This one woman, they were ghost hunting, and while she was feeling sick and nauseous, she was laying in an adjacent room, and next thing she knew, she felt like something grabbed, I believe it was her spleen or her organs, and basically crushed them. And they took her to the hospital. She was having severe internal bleeding, which the doctors were saying the only thing that they've ever seen that in is in car wreck victims. But luckily, she healed up. But it's just like, this place is literally an evil place. And through personal experience with me being there and what's happened to me, all in all, that documentary that Paranormal Witness did on the building on the old South Pittsburgh hospital is fairly accurate. Fairly accurate. Alright, dropping down into my number 3 spot, and that is Ghost Adventures 2007. Yes, the very documentary that put Zach Bagans and his team on the map. In this documentary, they went to I believe an old hospital out in Arizona. Anyway, it was a gold mining town that had basically washed up. A ghost town, pretty much. And he and his team caught something that very rarely ever gets caught on camera. And what that was is they caught a brick flying across the room at them, and essentially they had to leave. That, in the paranormal world, is very, very rare. I mean, especially, it's kind of up there with catching something on thermal, and, but yeah, it was weird just ultimately watching it growing up and thinking that's the documentary that put them on the map. But that's my number 3 spot. For number 2 is something that I grew up watching, and I think it's the basis or the premise or the pilot episode of how a haunting got started, and that is A Haunting in Georgia, which was made in 2002. Now, for me, why I liked it so much is, as a kid, I never fully finished watching it. It was a family in the state of Georgia who moved to this haunted house that they really didn't know was haunted. And this documentary chronicled a lot of what was going on. Like, at one point, they caught a chair moving by itself, flinging right back to them. A lot of communications with the little kids. Like, the documentary chronicled the life of the children growing up in this haunted house and the new owners, and the infamous Mr. Gordy, which he was the older man who originally lived in the house before they did. So really, I think why I like this documentary so much is there was just so much paranormal stories or ghost stories that happened at this place. They even, like, the documentary even looked at what about a poltergeist, like what comes out of your own mind. Yes, that's how poltergeists form, by the way. But all in all, I loved it. I wish I could find another copy of it, but on to my number 1. Now number 1 always gets me every time I think about it, and quite honestly, it's what got me interested in ghost hunting. But it was my sophomore year in high school. I was alone in my dad's house, it was my mother's house, flipping through the television, and I came across this documentary called Children of the Grave. Now, Children of the Grave, they go to this one spot in St. Louis that's called Zombie Road, and I believe they also go to this orphanage too, or it was like an orphanage / hospital. And really, the premise of this documentary is it looks at children ghosts. Yes. We even see in this documentary they catch a full body apparition at the hospital, and this apparition is quote unquote known to be was a pedophile when they were still living. And you could even see, like, they taunt this ghost because they know its history. And perhaps the freakiest thing about this documentary is they go to this place called Zombie Road, which is this trail system in St. Louis. It's very dangerous. There's always a wreck that seems to happen every year, some kind of fatality on whatever capacity you want to look at it. And I believe they had one, I think one of the creatures, or I believe there was a wreck at a mental hospital, or from a mental institution, and they called him the Bunny Man, escaped. I'm probably thinking about something entirely different, but there was a wreck of a bus with a bunch of school kids in it that died. This is also one of the things that made me go, I want to do ghost hunting. Is that when they used a thermal across the forest. They caught shadows, like 20, 30 shadow children staring at them from the ridge. Like, I would say, if you're a skeptic, you could probably say, like, oh, it was just the trees. Like, no, you could clearly see you had the tree, then you had a physical shape of a human being that cannot be replicated no matter how hard you try. But Children of the Grave came out in 2007, one of my favorite paranormal documentaries. And I found it on Vimeo. I know at one time it was on YouTube, but I guess they took it down, but it's crap. But you guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I kind of had to work with something. I know lately, I think what's going on with me is my sleep schedule. That's something that I've got to work on if I want to make better content for this YouTube channel, and if I want to get my dreams together. Yes, I have dreams outside of YouTube. Even though 105 subscribers is pretty impressive right now. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. That will put you in the loop on daily content of my life here in the state of Florida. Stay posted, stay tuned. Keep in touch with me at Dream Poet at Facebook, as well as my Instagram and the links below. Thank you all for the love and support. I love y'all very much. Peace, guys.